sometimes it seems to be embedded in the DNA of the city. I mean, two cities that kind of come to mind. One was Cambridge, where you
Hmm.
were talking about obviously the physics revolution with Isaac Newton, but then I remember a line in the book you were like, oh, by the way, we it still was producing hydrogen and the electron and the neutron. It didn't stop back in the 1600s. It was still very much a part of what that was. And then another city I think of is like Paris, where
Hmm.
recently I've been kind of Paris in the 1920s and the cafe culture is kind of very much on my mind, and we can get to that. But what was funny when I was reading the Enlightenment, I was like, oh, well, this is a lot of what we're talking about from the 1920s was around in the 1600s. It's still very much the same underlying components of that city, and that's maintained. So how do we think about those that really maintain that still that it's not a moment anymore? It's still that same. It really is as a center in that through line.
I think it's exactly as you say when you're looking at Paris in the 1920s. You notice that it still had maintained something in common with Paris during the Enlightenment, right? Which is this sort of openness to new or strange ideas, strange people, new characters, debate, intellectual discussion. The discussion of controversial ideas and allowing for that. That's very powerful. If you can maintain that kind of culture, or resurrect it if you've lost it. Yeah, I think it is possible, absolutely, for a city to rebound and to have a second golden age, or to come out of a situation where you would really never expect it to be a center of progress, to suddenly take the world by storm. We need to remember that Florence, the Renaissance came right after the Great Plague, the Black Death pandemic, right? A third of the city's population, at least, was killed during that. And yet it rose from the ashes of that tragedy to produce some of the most beautiful artwork the world had ever seen. And to create so many other innovations as well in finance and other areas. So it is definitely possible to change a city's trajectory. And I think it is also possible for a city to regain an atmosphere of openness that's conducive to progress that it once had, um, and maybe has lost to some degree.